Hi, I'm Michael Finley, write-in candidate for President of the United States in 2016. Today I'd like to talk to you about another one of my platform points. This one, and I'm going to read it off my screen here on my computer, I don't have teleprompters. It says, spy agencies must be brought under strict compliance with the Constitution and international treaties with full government oversight. Now, all of that is really important, including the oversight. You may be aware of some names in the news recently, including people like Edward Snowden, currently in exile, because he revealed that people in our government were violating United States laws, the United States Constitution, and international treaties. You may be aware of Bradley Manning, who is also known as Chelsea Manning, because he is a transgender individual trying to become a woman, and that's how he identifies. And these people, and Chelsea Manning has accepted a long prison sentence for being a whistleblower. Now, our whistleblowers are supposed to be protected. We have a federal whistleblower statute, and if they are revealing criminal activity, they're supposed to be protected. Why aren't they being protected? Why is it that instead of prosecuting those who committed the crime that these people blew the whistle about, why are we putting whistleblowers in prison or chasing them for their lives around the world? Well, because our spy agencies are not in compliance with the U.S. Constitution and international treaties, and because we do not have adequate government oversight of them. Now, just recently, even though the public was getting upset about the amount of spying that's taking place on average citizens, in violation of our rights under the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, Dianne Feinstein on the Senate Intelligence Committee was not upset by that. In fact, she kept defending the government's, the spy agency's gathering of metadata, as it's called, on people like you and me. But all of a sudden, in the middle of some of the hearings, somebody started hacking her computers belonging to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and taking information off of that regarding abuses by these agencies. Then she got upset. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Feinstein, you should have been upset when they were doing that to people like me. People like the people watching this video. You should have cared about our rights and not just yours. Because we matter too. We're not just peasants. And you should be exercising the proper type of oversight of these agencies to make sure they're not violating our rights. Let's talk about what happens when agencies are allowed to run rampant. Let's look back to the days of black and white television, and there used to be a guy who was the head of the FBI named J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover was gathering the same kind of information that they're now calling metadata, as though that's harmless and not a violation of rights. And he was piecing together who people were calling, who people were spending their time with, even who people were having affairs with. And you know what he did with that information? He abused it in order to blackmail people and government officials. He was blackmailing with that information because there was not adequate oversight. We cannot leave the heads of these agencies to be the only ones to oversee them. Now, in 1962, there was a plan made called Operation Northwoods. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a fact. And I'm going to show you where you can find this information yourself, because the Operation Northwoods Memo has been declassified and is now available. George Washington University maintains a national security archive. This is the link to download your own free copy of the Operation Northwoods Memo that was declassified a few decades ago. Why haven't you heard of it if it was declassified so long ago? Well, because the American media isn't reporting on those things very accurately or adequately. So this is where you can find it. I'm also going to post this link in the description of this video on YouTube. Now, Operation Northwoods was a plan made by the Central Intelligence Agency, and the plan was to kill Americans and blame it on Cuba so that we would have a pretext or an excuse to go to war with Cuba. Basically, we were going to frame Cuba for these evil acts. Now, if you download this memo, you're going to find that the first few pages are really kind of administrative nonsense. It's the last 4 pages where it really shows what the details were of the plans. And here's the kind of thing they were planning to do. They were going to send a missile into a populated city in Florida, which would have killed a lot of Americans, and they were going to blame that on Cuba. They were going to have CIA agents dressed in Cuban military uniforms fire on our American military personnel at our base on Guantanamo Bay. They were going to fire on American ships. They were going to fake the shoot down of an American fighter plane. They were going to fake the shoot down of a passenger jet loaded with CIA agents posing as college students, supposedly taking a trip to a country past Cuba, and then they were going to fire a missile and make it look like it came from Cuba to shoot down the plane. But it wouldn't have the people on the plane anymore because the plan called for that plane to be swapped midair for a remote-controlled plane, also known as a drone. Yes, they knew how to do that all the way back in 1962. Now this plan went up the chain of command and was actually approved by General Lemnitzer, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States of America. The only reason this plan didn't actually take place is because John F. Kennedy said no. That was about a year before he was assassinated. Am I saying there's a link? I can't prove a link, but I do find it highly suspicious. And again, you need adequate oversight. In this particular case, John F. Kennedy was the only oversight that protected Americans from being killed. By the way, they also planned to kill Cuban immigrants in the United States and in boats on their way to the United States and make it look like Cuba did it. So they were going to kill Americans, they were going to kill American military personnel, and they were going to kill immigrants, completely innocent people, so they could blame it on Cuba. That's what happens. That's what you get from a spy agency that does not have adequate oversight. If you're shocked, if you don't believe me, look it up yourself. I've given you the link. This is the official National Security Archives maintained by George Washington University. Again, this will be in the description of this video. Let's talk about another thing. A lot of you didn't even know who the NSA was until fairly recently. I've known for many decades. There were hearings held in the 1990s regarding an NSA program called Echelon. Echelon was already doing, long before September 11th, 2001, the similar things to what they do now that have been revealed by Edward Snowden. They were intercepting all electronic communications in the United States, and they were searching them with specific keywords. Congressional hearings were held to try to determine exactly what keywords they were searching for and whether or not this was a violation of the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. And what was the Congress told? They were told, I'm sorry, that's an issue of national security, so we're not allowed to tell you. Well, I'm sorry, that's not an acceptable excuse. We, the people of the United States, need to know that you, the spy agencies, are not violating our rights, that you're not violating the American Constitution, that you're not violating international treaties. We have had relations with other countries ruined because our spy agencies were spying on our allies, including the Prime Minister of Germany, an ally. They were tapping her phone. This has really, really damaged how America looks internationally. It's damaged our foreign relations seriously, possibly irreparably in some cases. In case you didn't know, there are countries on this planet that are working together right now to build to lay cables intercontinentally that avoid the United States so that our spy agencies cannot access their electronic and internet communications. That is ridiculous that we have been put in that place as a country. So my feeling is we need real oversight. We can no longer accept as an excuse that national security is an issue. What a lame excuse that is. So wouldn't that be great if we could just all use that excuse for everything that went wrong? For example, we're accused of a crime, and we could say to the judge, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, that's a matter of national security. I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you." Would that work for us in court? I don't think so. It shouldn't work for these spies either. Now, we do need spy agencies. We do need intelligence gathering to be done properly to protect our country. I'm not saying we don't need spy agencies. We need spy agencies that comply with the law, that respect our rights, that respect the Constitution of the United States and our international treaties. And if those spy agencies won't toe the line, we need an executive, meaning the President of the United States, who will remove people from their office as heads of those agencies and replace them with people who will comply. That is what a strong executive does. That's what I will do when you elect me to be the President of the United States, by writing in the name Michael D. Finley of Santa Clarita, California, on your ballot in 2016. I don't belong to a political party. I don't accept $1 of contributions, not a dime, not a penny, because I refuse to be bought. I refuse to have any allegiance to anyone other than the people of the United States of America. That's who I want to represent without any conflict of interest. Thank you.